For years, people have said that the Western is dead. They say the same thing about rock roll, the most American of genres. The Western is a resilient art form. Cowboys will always be cool. Of course, Westerns were certainly far more popular in the 1950s and 1960s. The genre thrived on television, where characters like Paladin, Rowdy Yates, and Josh Randall sauntered across the Great Southwest. Gunsmoke and Bonanza may have had astounding staying power, but perhaps no Western was as beloved as The Rifleman. And no cowboy as revered as Lucas McCain. The series ran for 5 seasons from 1958 to 1963. Here are some things you might not know about The Rifleman. 1. It was the first prime-time series to depict a widowed parent raising a child. Lucas McCain, Chuck Conner, was a pioneer parent on American television. Steered by Peckinpah's hearty scripts, Lucas taught his young son, Mark, tough, honest lessons. The show's moral compass remains one of its great draws. A decade later, Diahann Carroll would break ground starring in her sitcom Julia, which was centered around a black single mother. 2. Chuck Conner was a 3-sport pro athlete. The Brooklyn native was on the first ever Boston Celtics squad in 1946. He left the team to join his boyhood heroes, the Brooklyn Dodgers. He eventually joined the Chicago Cubs in 1951 and played first base. Oh, and he was drafted by the Chicago Bears, too. Here's a great piece of trivia, basketball lovers. Conner was the first professional player credited with shattering a backboard. The tough guy thing is no act. 3. A young Dennis Hopper guest stars in the first episode. Keep an eye peeled for the pilot episode, The Sharpshooter. In it, Hopper plays, you guessed it, a sharpshooter. The actor would return in another episode, Three-Legged Terror, as a different character. Paul Fix, who would later play Marshal Micah Torrance in the series, appears as an uncredited doctor tending to Hopper in the pilot. 4. Sammy Davis Jr. also portrayed a sharpshooter. The Rat Packer pops up late in season 4 as Tip Corey, a deadeye with a deadly reputation. The song and dance man was pretty nifty with a pistol, too. His quick draw and spinning skills are no joke. 5. The pilot episode script was written by Sam Peckinpah for Gunsmoke. Gunsmoke rejected the script due to content. Instead, it became its own show. If Gunsmoke had filmed the script, what might have been, or never have been? There were significant differences in the original teleplay from the final product. Most notably, McCain did not have a son. Many characters were based on Peckinpah's experience growing up on a ranch. That root realism led to a show which was harder-boiled and grittier than the rest. Peckinpah wanted to keep pushing the boundaries of the Western. However, he left after the first season and would go on to craft The Wild Bunch, Straw Dogs, and other cinema classics. 6. Johnny Crawford recorded 5 top 40 hits. The actor, like many young television stars, was a teen heartthrob with a thriving music career. Crawford scored 5 top 40 hits in the 1960s, the biggest of which was Cindy's Birthday. The string-drenched love song peaked at number 8 on Billboard's Hot 100 in 1962. 7. The show takes place in the 1870s and 1880s, but Lucas McCain has a rifle from 1892. While the show had realism, it was not 100% accurate. This was TV after all. One of the major anachronisms was the rifle itself. McCain toted a nifty modified Winchester Model 1892 with a big ring lever, which allowed him to cock the gun by spinning it in his hand. Conner was left-handed, by the way. 8. Paul Fix was the doctor on Star Trek's Enterprise Before Bones. The aforementioned Fix has a place in Trek lore. After playing Marshal Micah Torrance, he appeared in the second pilot episode of Star Trek, Where No Man Has Gone Before, as Dr. Mark Piper. When the sci-fi show was picked up by the network, Fix was relieved of his medical officer duties and replaced by DeForest Kelley. However, Where No Man Has Gone Before would be the 3rd episode aired in season 1, meaning Dr. McCoy appeared on screen before Dr. Piper. Paul Fix had many other appearances on westerns and television shows of the era. Chuck Conner, a rangy ex-baseball player, is the latest actor to swing into the saddle for a Western television series. Conner, a busy lad lately in movies and TV, plays the Rifleman in a weekly half-hour program on ABC TV. The big blonde from Brooklyn describes it. "I play this guy Lucas McCain. He carries a rifle, because he believes guns are for hunting animals, not humans, and a 6-gun is no good for deer." So right away it's clear, the show is different from other TV sagebrush sagas. The Rifleman isn't just another tall-in-the-saddle hombre fixing to plug the first varmint who goes for his shooting irons. He's a peace-loving widower who only wants a quiet place to settle down with his 10-year-old son. The show's writers, of course, see to it that he never quite finds it. In the first 3 episodes, Conner gets beaten up, shot and tied to a mill wheel before the bad guys get their comeuppance. Sound rugged? Well, it is, says Conner, but then he's a rugged guy. I'm in about as good shape as when I quit baseball in 1952, Conner says. He keeps his 6'5" frame in trim by swimming, running, and lifting weights. The Rifleman is serious business, which gives Conner little chance to display his lively sense of humor. During his baseball career, he had a reputation as a clubhouse comedian. When he signed with the old Brooklyn Dodgers in 1942, the story goes, Conner politely thanked baseball mogul Branch Rickey, a fairly solemn customer. Then the brash rookie bowed from the waist, clicked his heels and said, "Mr. Rickey, my card." Conner sometimes strolled about the Florida training camp dressed in a blazer and dungarees and walking a huge Irish setter while reading aloud the shooting of Dan McGrew. He also set an unofficial record for reciting Casey at the Bat. His impersonations of Rickey and Bert Shotton, then managing the club, brought down the clubhouse with one particularly moving performance. Everyone was in hysterics, he recalls sadly, except Rickey and Shotton. A few days later, he was shipped to the Dodger Farm Club at Montreal. Conner later played for the Chicago Cubs and the old Los Angeles Angels of the Pacific Coast League. Some fans remember him as the Joker who hit the home run, sprinted around first and second base, slid into third and then walked leisurely to home plate. Conner also had a flair for baiting umpires. "You're doing fine work," he once yelled at an umpire who had called him out on strikes. "That pitch was right in there." "Don't make trouble," said the ump as the stands began to hoot at what looked like a lively argument. "No trouble, I'm on your side," said Conner, jetting his jaw into the umpire's face. "You umps do fine work all the time." The grandstanders became more restless. "Just sit down, Conner," said the exasperated man in the blue. "Please, sir, not before I pay tribute to your sharp-eyed judgment," said Conner as the umpire turned his back in defeat. So what chance are the bad guys on Conner's TV show going to have with a fellow who got the best of a baseball umpire?